out in this terrible weather, I trust you will feel amply recompensed by the end of the evening. I'd like to take a moment to thank the members of our trio for asking me to help in this production. And I'd like to say that I know each of them now for a number of years. I met them as students in classes some time ago, and immediately I was struck by their dedication and their seriousness and their high energy, and above all, their love of art. And so it's very gratifying to find them in this position today where they can share their talent with you. Now, to the subject of Erwartung. If what I am about to say seems strangely familiar, that's because you just read it in your program notes. But I'm going to amplify it. Erwartung is a modern masterpiece, and it's one of a kind. Its composer, Arnold Schoenberg, called it an opera, though it has but one character and virtually no action. The aim, Schoenberg wrote, is to represent in slow motion everything that occurs during a single second of maximum spiritual excitement. The libretto is by Marie Pappenheim, who was in 1909 a young medical student. In fact, the essence of the text derives from Pappenheim's records of the hallucinations of a patient she was then treating. This was the heyday of Sigmund Freud, and while for the psychologist the unconscious was rife with unhealthy disturbances, for the creative artist it was a source of rich inspiration. The story, such as it is, centers on an unnamed woman who stumbles about in a dark wood. She speaks to an unseen lover, now cajoling, now imploring. Is that his dead body that she finds, or is the action taking place in her mind? Is she distraught at the sight of his blood, or is she guilty of murder? We've seen her before, this crazy and dangerous female, this murderous seductress. She appears in the great operas of Richard Strauss from this time, Salome and Electra. Women were clamoring in early 20th century Germany for equality with men. Freud might have said that these threatening and powerful females of the stage manifest unconscious fears of their male counterparts. But Erwartung goes beyond Electra in its language and in its music. The woman's schizophrenic nature is expressed through a series of disjointed, fragmentary utterances, each leading nowhere. The latter-day Freudian Slavoj Zizek would explain such deformations of language as an attempt to reach beyond the symbolic level of words and touch an irrational ground of real experience. But if normal speech can't render madness, then the musical conventions of the past, tonality, formal development, are inadequate to create a backdrop of chaos. Schoenberg's notorious exploration of atonality can be understood as driven by an instinctive feel for the irrational. And in this, he was of one mind with his great friend, the painter, the expressionist painter, Kandinsky, whose bold experiments in abstraction were guided by what he called an inner necessity. The unrelenting tension, the unresolved dissonance of the work create a hauntingly static, hovering atmosphere. Indeed, Erwartung means expectation. But just as revolutionary is the fact, or the claim, that the opera is entirely athematic. Of course, the score is rich in melodies. The orchestra creates a kind of phantasmagorical forest of tangled motives. But they mutate and change, and nothing is twice the same. Or so we thought, until it was discovered that toward the end, nearing the climax, Schoenberg quotes the melody from a song he had written some years earlier. But this self-referential moment is buried in the bases and goes by virtually unnoticed, except by theorists with too much time on their hands. And its significance remains unclear. So, the world has lost its bearings. There's no home key in which to rest, no principal theme to recall. This is the moment, then, when Romanticism evolves into modernism. For whereas, for example, in Wagner's Tristan and Isolde, even if only at the bitter end, even if only in death, a peaceful resolution is achieved, here the ambiguities lie unresolved and the questions remain unanswered. Gone is the dream of deliverance, the hope of redemption. As the woman exclaims towards the end in despair, "What shall I do alone in this unending existence, in this strange dream without boundaries and colors?" The full score of Erwartung calls for a large post-romantic orchestra, like those employed by Mahler and Strauss. The composer's own piano reduction cannot render all the musical material. In the present arrangement, many of the missing melodies are restored by the addition of the clarinet, an instrument, if I may say so, uniquely suited to express the enormous range of emotion the work encompasses, from the hysterical squeals of its uppermost register to the lugubrious whispers of its bass. Through all the phases of his career, Schoenberg remained a lyrical composer, and Erwartung, despite its madness, or perhaps because of it, is a work of great melodic beauty and sensitive text setting. In making a performing translation, my aim was to achieve a natural delivery that would be comprehensible while retaining as much as possible the delicate relation between word, rhythm, and accompaniment. As Captain Kirk once said to some alien in an episode of Star Trek, "You can't stay mad forever." The white heat of expressionism that inspired Erwartung's essential composition in a mere 17 days eventually cooled, and Schoenberg's reliance on spontaneous feeling gave way to the more calculated chaos of the 12-tone bed. Thus, Erwartung stands as a testament to a moment of great excitement from the early modernist period. Perhaps because it speaks so eloquently of that moment, it has become timeless, a source of unending fascination. Now to the music. The performers have requested that between the words and the sounds, we give them and share with them a couple of minutes of silence, and that's what I'm requesting of you at this moment.